Does it ever seem like the higher you climb up the ladder of career success, it feels like you're almost simultaneously falling down the ladder of personal fulfillment? You're an ambitious high achiever, but the only real reward that comes from each promotion and pay raise is more stress, more pressure to perform, higher expectations, and less time for yourself, for sleep, and for the relationships that make life emotionally wealthy. If that's you, you're in the right place. Coming up in this video, I want to give you a formula that's going to help you create true happiness in midlife and beyond. If we've never met before, by the way, it's nice to meet you. I'm Dan Mason, former corporate burnout. Today, I'm widely considered to be America's #1 coach for career and life happiness. I help unfulfilled leaders and executives create satisfying second chapters with more meaning, money, and freedom. A lot of clients who come into my coaching practice all profile under what I would say is outer success, but inner pain. You've done all the things you were conditioned to do since childhood that would make you successful. You went to school, you studied hard, you got the degree, you got a good job, you have climbed the corporate ladder, you got the house, maybe the 2.5 kids, and yet for so many achievement addicts that I work with, there's an unease under the surface. A lot of nights, maybe you've laid awake, stressed out, feeling like there's a 2-ton anvil sitting on your chest and wondering, man, is this all there is? I want you to think about your life in terms of a financial portfolio. If you went to a financial advisor, they would tell you you want to be diversified, right? You want to have your assets in multiple places. You're going to put some in stocks, you're going to put some in bonds, maybe a little bit in crypto or digital currency. You might put some in real estate, you'll have some domestically, some internationally. Well, that's what would be considered to have a healthy, diversified financial portfolio. And yet, when it comes to our own happiness, there is a portfolio, right? There are multiple areas of life we want to consider. Many people, particularly high achievers, have put all of their resources energetically solely into career. You know, workaholism is a huge buzzword in the self-help community right now. But when you think about it, very few people are addicted to the work. They're addicted to the payoff that they think that they're getting from the work, which is success. And if we peel back that layer of the onion one more level, underneath the desire for more success is usually an emotional need to get to some temporary illusion of safety, of validation, of adoration from the people in our life. You know, I've coached so many unfulfilled high performers over the years, and underneath the workaholism, they're still trying to prove themselves to a parent who might have been dead for 10, 15, 20 years. And this is really at the crux of what we're talking about, is changing our relationship to success. Are you moving toward a purpose or a larger meaning in your life, or are you running from pain? Because here's the thing, fellow overachiever, something I've had to learn on my journey. Overachieving, high performance, that is not a personality type. What it is usually indoctrinated into by our families, by our peer groups, or sometimes it's a response to trauma. Every high performer that I work with, we have to start to get clear on what is the origin story of your overachieving, to really get clear on what's driving you. I'll give you a quick example from my life. When I was 11 years old, I had just finished up my 6th grade year at Maid Creek Junior High School in Houston, Texas. And I had this core memory of my mom putting trophies out across our mantle that represented all of the superlatives that I won at the end of the school year. There was a trophy that said Daniel was most popular, and there was another trophy here that said Daniel was student of the year. I remember there was a trophy with a basketball and a tennis racket on it saying I was most athletic. And there was a trophy with a couple ballroom dancing on the top that my girlfriend and I were voted class couple. My mom would show these trophies to all of her girlfriends and brag about how well I was doing, except there was one problem. I didn't really win any of those trophies. My mom went to a trophy shop and had them created as a way to compete with her girlfriends. As I watched my mom do that, I made two core decisions about myself and about the world that really dictated how I showed up and what I believed moving forward. Number one, I made a decision that who I was authentically was not enough for my mom to be proud of. Because the reality of my sixth grade year is I had just hit puberty, I had a bad haircut, I had braces, I was socially awkward, I was very shy, was not an athlete at all. I was the kid who got bullied and shoved into lockers after gym class every day, and there was no girlfriend. I was too shy to even talk to girls. But that version of me was never loved, was never held, was never supported. So I believed, secondly, I had to become the guy that won the trophies. And starting that summer vacation, I would spend every day while the other kids were out going to the swimming pool or basketball courts, going to the mall, chasing girls. I started following my dad to work every day. My father worked at a radio station, he was an executive, and I started to learn the family business. By age 16, I had my first on-air radio job. And as I had that job, I got a lot of praise. My family said, "Oh, Daniel's doing so well." My classmates thought, "Man, that's cool that, Dan is on the air on Friday nights at midnight on the radio." I got a lot of attaboys that weren't really given to me growing up in a household with parents in an unhealthy marriage, parents who weren't very well connected to each other or to themselves, and therefore struggled to connect with me on an emotional level. This is how the overachiever was born. Now, I don't know what your origin story is to success and what's keeping you in the rat race, but that's a very worthwhile thing that we start to understand in the coaching process. Because in that effort for more success, for more achievement, you realize that nothing's ever really enough, that you'll get the next career milestone, you'll get a pay raise, everybody will pat you on the back, and when that high wears off, you very quickly have to start chasing the next achievement. And it starts to take away from the other areas of your life that 100 years of social science say contribute to true happiness. Now let's look at that. What I'd love you to do is to pause this video, take out a pen and paper, and just take down a few notes. Jot down your scores in each of these areas. Number one, friendships. Do you have transactional relationships in your life, which many of us do in the corporate world? Those are relationships that are based on what we can get from one another. Or do you have true friendships with people where you have shared values and vision, people who love you unconditionally, people who love you not for the money that's in your bank account or the house that you own, but for who you are on the inside, which means that you're showing up with a level of authenticity in those relationships. Are you allowing people in to see who you really are, or are you living on the surface, right? Transactional relationships, not the same as true friendship. And I realized that when I left my media executive career behind in 2015, I realized 90% of my friendships all went away. When I couldn't hire people for jobs anymore, I wasn't playing people's music on the radio, or I wasn't the guy that was the hookup for concert tickets, a lot of those friendships faded out. Where are you at in terms of friendships? Give yourself a score on a scale of 1 to 10. And this is very important because Harvard has done the longest longitudinal research study on happiness later in life. They took a group of their graduates 80, 90 years ago, and they tracked them beyond graduation. The study has gone on so long, they've tracked the children and the offspring of those original graduates. And what they have realized, the researchers have said, the number one key to happiness later in life, it's relationships, full stop. So I want you to score yourself on your friendships. The second place that we want to look at is family. How well connected are you to the people in your life? A lot of high achievers, I was one of these people, believe that our true value is in what we can provide financially. And indeed, you might be a great provider, in terms of putting your kids in the right schools or putting a beautiful home over everybody's head, paying for nice vacations. But are you providing the one thing that your spouse and your family needs from you: emotional presence. Do you have the energy to show up attentive, responsive, and engaged with the people that you love? Are you able to hold space for them to be who they are authentically? Are you able to, provide a sense of active listening in those relationships without trying to change them? And are you able to show up as yourself in those relationships? What's the true level of intimacy that you have? Are you cordial with your spouse, with your children, or is there a deep sense of love? And I want you to think, what would your family say about what they're getting from you? Score yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. The third piece we're going to look at is career, but we're going to look at it in perhaps a different way than you've considered up until now. This isn't just about career. It's not about paycheck. It's about purpose and meaning. Does your work represent your highest and best contribution to the world? Do you feel like you're operating every day in a zone of genius, in a flow state, where you're so engaged in the work that you're doing that 4 hours can fly by and feel like 30 minutes? Let's look at this in terms of purpose and in terms of meaning. Scale of 1 to 10. Where are you there in this part of your life? And the fourth piece that I know I completely shut out of my life for a number of years, and I see this happen with many high achievers who are self-reliant, who believe I have to single-handedly will the goals and the objectives in my career and life forward on my own. We want to look at the faith piece. What is your connection, right? When we're talking about purpose, it's being connected to yourself. Your relationships are how you connect to others. But faith, are you connected to something bigger than yourself? Now, this does not have to be the traditional idea of God that happens in many churches and religions. I've worked with atheists in the past, and their higher power spiritual connection is being in nature. Some people feel most connected to the universe if they're out on the water or if they're up in the mountains, but really defining what that is for you. Now, I would never tell anybody as a coach what you have to believe, but I would tell you, if you believe that your future, your life that you want to have is just something that you single-handedly have to push a boulder up a hill, and there's no room for the metaphysical, for the synchronicities and serendipities of life, if you don't believe that life is working on your behalf, it's a really exhausting way to go. But these are the 4 areas: family, friendship, career, and also faith, that all the science says dictates our happiness in midlife and beyond. And what I'd like you to do is look at all of your scores and see what is the lowest. Maybe what are your 2 lowest? And your journal prompt today, just for clarity on where you need to reallocate your time moving forward, is: what do my lowest scores say about my unmet needs in my life? It's a great self-reflection question. Now, this is never going to be something where you're operating at out of 10 in all 4 of these areas. Sometimes it's about course correcting. When you're really aligned with purposeful work, okay, how are my relationships? I'm moving some attention to my relationships. Okay, how's my faith connection? But we just want to help you start to get the car back out onto the road, if not in between the lines. Go to the comments, share with me what you learned from that journal prompt. And if you're interested in additional coaching, one-on-one to work together to help you create a satisfying second chapter with more meaning, fulfillment, and freedom, I got you. Go to creativesoulcoaching.net. You can fill out the coaching application there. If this video serves you, please click subscribe or follow, and be sure to share this with somebody in your life who might need to see it. Thanks so much for watching.